I'm Dr. Rudi Newman, a historian and author working with Hertfordshire's library service, and in this series we'll be revealing some of the important, obscure and sometimes unusual stories to be found in Hertfordshire's history. Waltham Cross in eastern Hertfordshire takes its name from an impressive edifice at the centre of the town. A cross supported on 3 hexagonal tiers, this is a rare surviving medieval monument known as an Eleanor cross. But why was it built? Well, its origin reveals a story of love and grief. In 1239, a son was born to King Henry III, Edward. By the age of 15, fears had begun to circulate of a possible Spanish invasion of England's French territory, Gascony. Aiming to prevent this, Henry organised the marriage of Edward with Eleanor, the 13-year-old half-sister of King Alfonso X of Castile. They were married on the 1st of November 1254, the ceremony held in Castile at the Abbey of Las Huelgas. Living in Gascony, they had a short-lived daughter before returning to England in 1255. Although contrived for political reasons, the marriage was a success and they grew very close. Unfortunately, the population was wary of Eleanor, concerned that her family would take advantage of Henry's generosity, and the marriage soon became very unpopular. The country itself was growing more divided, leading to a war between crown and barons in the 1260s. With peace by 1270, both Edward and Eleanor travelled to join the Eighth Crusade. Unsuccessful, it was worsened by an assassination attempt on Edward. In 1272 they moved to Sicily, where they heard that Henry III had died, so they returned to England and were crowned on the 19th of August 1274. The early years of their reign are best known for the conquest of Wales and the ring of castles built on its coast, including those at Beaumaris, Carnarvon, Conway and Harlech. Eleanor stayed with Edward during his travels, and unlike most medieval monarchs, Edward was unfailing in his faithfulness to his queen. Although Eleanor had limited political power, she was active in cultural influence, being a patron of literature, popularising the use of tapestries, and supporting the universities at Oxford and Cambridge. Nonetheless, she remained unpopular due to continually expanding her land ownership, worsened by the poor treatment of tenants by the officials who ran them for her. Having 16 children in total, after Eleanor's last in 1284, her health began to deteriorate. What was wrong is unknown, now believed to have possibly been malaria, but she was increasingly infirm. Heading to Lincoln, the journey had to be abandoned at Harby, Nottinghamshire, where she died on the 28th of November 1290, aged 49, with Edward by her side. Edward was plainly inconsolable. The government all but shut down for 3 days afterwards. Eleanor's body was taken to Lincoln, where she was prepared for a triple burial: organs at Lincoln, heart at Blackfriars, and body at Westminster. These latter were processed to London over 12 days, with 12 overnight stops. The 10th of these was at Waltham Abbey on the 13th of December 1290. Edward had numerous grand memorials created in Eleanor's memory, a mark of grief, but also likely trying to improve her public image, and the most famous would be a series of crosses marking the procession of her body. Made by different artists and all varying slightly, the one at Waltham Cross was erected around 1291. It cost over £110, that's very roughly speaking £90,000 today, and unusually was the sole example designed by a foreigner, Nicholas de Mange. The crosses were all completed by 1295. Edward had been concerned about the succession, many of his children having already died, so he remarried in 1299, but still mourned Eleanor. Writing to the Abbot of Cluny in 1291, he asked for prayers for Eleanor, quote, "whom living we dearly cherished, and whom dead we cannot cease to love." Edward ruled until his death in 1307, having cemented his reputation and gaining the nickname of Hammer of the Scots through his battles with William Wallace and Robert the Bruce. It is ironic that for a king now famed for military might and subjugation, that these monuments preserve a gesture of love. In its later history, the cross at Waltham, once on the outskirts but increasingly enveloped by the town, began to deteriorate, so underwent several restoration projects. During one of these, the statues of Eleanor were replaced by replicas, the originals now in the V&A. Today there are only 3 original Eleanor crosses remaining, others, such as at Charing Cross, being replicas. Rare survivors from the medieval age, not only do they commemorate a queen, but also the undying affection felt by one of Britain's best known and most divisive warriors. If you would like to know more, there is plenty available, and Hertfordshire libraries are a great place to start, with many online resources alongside material in your local library. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and thanks for listening.